You finally get the letter, that 100% rating. The fight is over, right? You've won the war against the bureaucracy, secured your future, and now you can finally start living. That is the myth we are sold, and frankly, it's the myth many veterans desperately cling to. But if you talk to veterans who have been 100% P&T for 5 or 10 years, you hear a different story. They tell you that 100% disability is not the finish line. It's merely the starting line of a new, incredibly complex deployment. It's the moment the VA stops fighting you, and the real fight, the fight for identity, purpose, and genuine well-being, begins. We need to talk about the brutal truths nobody prepares you for when you hit that top rating, because achieving 100% only solves one problem, the financial one. It leaves 7 massive, life-altering challenges completely unaddressed. The first and often most devastating challenge is the sudden and profound identity void. For years, decades even, your life was defined by structure, mission, and uniform. You were a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a Marine. You had a job title, a rank, and a team. When you are medically retired or separated and awarded 100%, the VA is essentially compensating you for the inability to perform that identity anymore. The paycheck is secure, but the purpose is gone. Many veterans mistake the pursuit of the rating as their new mission. They dedicate months or years to gathering evidence, attending C&P exams, and fighting appeals. That process becomes the structure. When the process ends, the structure collapses. You wake up on Monday morning, the bills are paid, the fridge is stocked, but there is no formation, no commander's intent, no team relying on you to execute the mission. This loss of mission translates into depression, anxiety, and a feeling of being completely adrift. If you don't actively replace that military structure with a self-imposed, meaningful civilian structure, daily routines, intellectual challenges, physical goals, you risk stagnating, becoming defined not by what you do, but by what you can't do. The uniform is gone, and you need to build a new skin, brick by painstaking brick, and that is a deployment far tougher than any C&P exam. But let's be brutally honest about the practical side, because the money itself creates its own set of problems, leading directly into the second challenge, the financial trap of lifestyle creep. Getting 100% P&T means a significant, reliable, tax-free income stream. For many veterans, this is the most money they have ever seen in their lives, especially if they are young or mid-career. The immediate reflexive response is often to upgrade everything: a bigger house, a nicer truck, better toys. Why? Because you can. The psychological pressure to finally reward yourself after years of service and sacrifice is immense. However, this tax-free income, while substantial, is fixed. It doesn't receive annual raises tied to market performance, only cost of living adjustments, COLA, which barely keep pace with actual inflation. If you immediately inflate your fixed costs, a huge mortgage, high vehicle payments, expensive hobbies, you quickly find yourself living paycheck to paycheck again, just at a higher income bracket. The safety net you worked so hard to establish becomes a tightrope. The finish line was supposed to be financial freedom, but if you don't treat this money as an investment vehicle, a foundation for true wealth, and instead treat it as disposable income, you're actually setting yourself up for financial fragility down the line. The real objective isn't just getting the money. It's protecting, investing, and growing it, so you are truly insulated from future economic shocks, which requires discipline that often feels counterintuitive after years of deprivation. The third hurdle is the health plateau, and this one is insidious. Think about the process of getting the rating. You had to prove how broken you were. You had to detail every ache, every memory, every limitation. The incentive was to emphasize disability. Once the 100% rating is secured, many veterans subconsciously or consciously stop actively fighting for improvement. Why? Because the compensation is tied to the disability. There is a deep psychological friction between seeking genuine recovery and maintaining the status that secures your income. This is not about malingering, it's about human motivation. If the goal was to achieve the rating, once achieved, the motivation to attend physical therapy, stick to the mental health protocols, or consistently engage in difficult, painful rehabilitation often wanes. You stop pushing because the reward structure has changed, but the VA compensation is for compensation, not cure. True well-being requires continuous effort. The 100% rating is not a license to stop working on your physical and mental health. It's the financial stability that finally allows you to dedicate your full-time energy to it. The finish line is not when the compensation starts. It's when you achieve the maximum possible functional recovery, even if the underlying conditions remain. You must shift your mindset from proving disability to proving capability. This brings us to the silent casualty of the 100% rating, the strain on the spouse and family, which is the fourth challenge. Often, the veteran is focused entirely on the fight with the VA. The spouse is the battle buddy, the record keeper, the chauffeur to appointments, and the emotional anchor. When the 100% rating hits, the veteran often expects things to normalize. But for the spouse, the job description rarely changes, and sometimes it intensifies. They transition from being the supporter in the fight to the full-time caregiver, and critically, the sole emotional manager of the household, especially if the veteran's mental health symptoms persist or worsen without the structure of the VA fight. This is often compounded by the veteran being home 24/7, disrupting the established routines the spouse created while the veteran was deployed or working. Spouses often feel isolated, unable to complain because they know the financial benefits are life-changing, yet their personal freedom and energy are completely depleted. The veteran needs to recognize that the finish line for them is not the finish line for the family unit. The veteran must actively seek ways to redistribute the emotional labor, seek marital counseling, and ensure the spouse has their own identity, resources, and breaks. The compensation might be tax-free, but the family burden is not. The fifth unexpected hurdle is the isolation paradox. The 100% rating often comes with the unspoken permission to retreat. If your disabilities involve anxiety, PTSD, or chronic pain, staying home feels safe, manageable, and necessary. The money means you don't have to face the stressors of the civilian world, the traffic, the office politics, the small talk. You can become a professional homebody. But humans are not built for isolation. The military provided intense social capital, a tribe that understood the jargon and the shared experiences. When you isolate yourself post 100%, you lose that connection. You lose the casual interactions that provide perspective and emotional calibration. You become stuck in a feedback loop of your own symptoms. The paradox is that the freedom the rating provides often leads to the highest degree of social imprisonment. Breaking this requires deliberate, uncomfortable action, finding a new tribe, whether through nonprofit work, veteran service organizations, or simply pursuing hobbies outside the home. The finish line is not isolation, it is integration, finding a way to contribute meaningfully to the world, even if it's on your own terms and timeline. Beyond the personal and familial struggles, there is the relentless bureaucratic maze, which is the sixth challenge. Many veterans incorrectly believe that 100% is permanent and completely unassailable. While P and T, permanent and total, status offers significant protection, the VA still requires ongoing interaction, especially concerning dependents and ancillary benefits. If you have children who age out, you have to submit paperwork. If you want to utilize Chapter 35 educational benefits for your dependents, that requires constant interaction and certification. If you are not P and T, you face the specter of re-examinations, which can trigger intense anxiety, forcing you back into the mindset of proving how ill you are. Even P and T status can be reviewed if there is clear and convincing evidence of fraud or a massive documented medical improvement, which frankly is rare but always possible. The point is, the VA relationship doesn't end. You transition from fighting for the rating to managing the rating. This requires organization, vigilance, and the continuous maintenance of medical records. If you stop engaging with the medical system entirely, you weaken your ability to defend your rating should a review ever occur. The finish line is not freedom from paperwork. It's mastering the system so the paperwork becomes a minimal, manageable maintenance task. We must also confront the seventh challenge, the purpose crisis. We touched on the identity void, but the purpose crisis goes deeper than just missing the uniform. It's about needing to contribute. Even with 100% disability, which often prohibits working a substantially gainful occupation, the human need to feel useful does not disappear. The VA benefit is designed to replace income, not replace meaning. Many veterans struggle because they feel like they are taking without giving. They feel like a burden, even when they are financially secure. Finding purpose post 100% requires redefining what work means. It doesn't have to be paid employment. It can be volunteering at a shelter, mentoring young veterans, writing, creating art, or dedicating oneself to a complex hobby that demands intellectual rigor. The goal is to find a vocation, a calling, that provides structure, utilizes your skills, military or otherwise, and gives you a reason to get out of bed that is larger than your own medical management. The ultimate goal is moving from being defined by your injuries to being defined by your impact. The finish line is not collecting a check. It's writing your next chapter of service to the world, even if it's highly localized and personal. Finally, we arrive at the eighth and most crucial realization. 100% is the platform, not the peak. The true finish line is leveraging these benefits for generational security. The 100% rating provides unparalleled stability, tax-free income, comprehensive health care, TRICARE/VA, and educational benefits for dependents. This is a massive, unique advantage that most civilians spend their entire lives trying to achieve. The veteran who truly wins the civilian deployment uses this platform to build true, lasting wealth. This means aggressive debt payoff, maximizing investments, Roth IRAs, 401ks, brokerage accounts, and potentially utilizing VA loan benefits to secure investment properties. Because your primary income is tax-free, you have a unique ability to save and invest pre-tax dollars more efficiently than almost anyone else in the country. If you merely spend the 100% benefit, you secure your own retirement. If you invest and manage it wisely, you secure your children's and grandchildren's futures. The finish line is not simply receiving the benefit, it is transforming that benefit into a legacy, ensuring that the sacrifices you made during your service translate into lasting stability and opportunity for the generations that follow you. That is the ultimate mission, the true finish line, and it requires discipline, education, and a long-term strategic view that extends far beyond the day that letter arrived. It's time to stop looking backward at the fight for the rating and start looking forward to the life you are now financially empowered to build.